working from home, and we were just getting by. So there's a lot of challenges that go into having 4 people trying to do just life in a small space. So I had actually gone out to my camping trailer just for a few minutes, just to breathe, and wrote this. So, day 33. Fevers are falling, leaves to the ground, and still we wait in humble pride for the buds to bloom again. Or had they gone ahead, only we were unaware? The news says stay inside, and we oblige. It is, after all, a matter of humanity. We all must do our part to occupy the time, engage our minds, and forgive the closeness of our cohabitators. Moss is growing on the stones, can't you see? And yet we wait, because the buds are blooming.
Very, very nice. Yeah, that's so familiar to me too. Just fair warning, I just started my the recording, so I wanted to record at least some of this for our Facebook page. So if anybody doesn't want to be recorded, please tell me and I'll honor that. Terry Simon? Hi, Terry.
Hi. Hi there. This one is in the current issue of Poetry Quarterly. It's part of a series, a small chapbook titled Ringing the Bell, which has been picked up by Claire Songbird's publishing house. Originally, I was hoping it would be out in September or October, but since they've been closed since March, your guess is as good as mine. But this is one of the poems from, well, hopefully it will be obvious what it's part of. This is called Waiting. Waiting is the worst part. Okay, not really. The phone call that tells you you have cancer sucks pretty badly. Then the waiting sets in. Wait to see the surgeon, wait for surgery, wait for results, and do those steps all again. Wait to heal, wait for treatment and the big unknown of its effects. Then wait during each session of radiation or chemo for part of your body to turn a burnished, darker shade as you slowly cook it, or for your hair to fall out and the nausea to pass. Finally, wait for your status to change, to ring the bell that says you've moved from patient to survivor. Wait for the medication you still have to take for years, for the follow-ups to become less frequent, to stop holding your breath.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do apologize for not starting the recording part of this sooner. So if you did want one of your post this for your family and friends, and you have the patience to stick around till it comes back around, you'll get another chance. I'm not the most perfect host. I'm getting better. Keith Parsons. Are you still here? There you are, Keith. Keith, can you hear me? To unmute your
Yeah,
mic.
I'm here. Sorry.
Did you want to read today?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me still?
I can. Let me just. I have one poet that's joining, and
All right.
okay. So, hi Keith. I'm glad you could make it in, and the other Keith Parsons, is about to read. So go ahead, Keith Parsons, when you're ready.
All right. I am gonna read the one that is in the latest Poetry Quarterly because it's one that was one of my favorites, and I was very thankful that you gave it a home. Day breaks at the National Portrait Gallery. One morning, Walt Whitman looks out of his window in the US Patent Office and sees the courtyard trees and iron fountains transformed to crisp flagstones, marble planters filled with orchids, a stage of cords and black boxes, hundreds of yoga mats as hued as the flowers, occupants bending, writhing to waves and pulses pumped skyward by a soundscaper, reaching tawny arms towards him, floral legs like painted pillars, an oriental fever, mirage, or holy ecstasy. From the opposite wing, Clara Barton also marvels up at the undulating lattice that replaces the open air, woven across the sky like gauze, arcing from roof to roof in a clear checkered span speckled with spotlights. And the yogis turn revelers as mats are stowed, feet and hips begin to move to thumping bass with trills of an improvising violinist, his instrument boutless, sharp as a bayonet, his kimono flying. Tables are heaped with bananas, apples, canned tea, milk, nuts, kombucha, and sweets. The humanity eats, drinks, and dances, presses around the stage, viscous and charged, waving arms in synchrony. Diva bird of paradise sways, muscular man swings lamps on strings, lights flash from boxes and fingers, street brass appears, horns join the din, laughing women limbo the trombone, fairy blows giant bubbles, music builds and swells to a frenzy. Soon, for Walt and Clara, the patent office will become an exchequer for the wages of gangrene and mini balls, a hospital, a morgue. Whitman will read to the wounded, Barton will tend them on the battlefield. Someday, the great stone halls will be thrown down by greater cataclysm, the portraits pillaged from its walls, the gossamer courtyard canopy racked and collapsed, the orchids seared into dust, the revel a hubris of headier times. But for now, Walt laughs, runs to join the fray. Clara smiles and strides into the melee of corporate secretaries and clerks and partners, of influencers and hill staffers, of singles and couples, hale-bodied or differently abled, young and differently young, men, women, straight, gay, queer, as many shapes, colors, and sizes as the emphatic orchids, dancing, dancing as the sun rises over the east wing. Clara pauses to pose for a selfie with an aging queen, and Walt bear hugs a man in spandex, pulls a hand across his beard, and smiles as oat milk drips down his chin. Thanks.
Thanks for reading, Keith. You know, I vaguely remember when I read that in the slush pile, and you guys don't know my process, but a lot of times I will sort of pare down. So slowly try to make, you know, because the book, there's only so many pages, and we have so many submissions, and but I remember, let me get to the point. I accepted your poem on the first read. That doesn't happen very often. Usually I mull them over a few times. I really like that one. And the title, it's just great. I like the title too. Susie
Thanks.
Box. Hi, Susie. Let's get you unmuted.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
First, I want to tell everybody so far, I love listening to you guys. Amazing, just really amazing work. So thank you for that, and I really appreciate the opportunity to read some of my work. I have had 3 pieces published, very short. I'm a big fan of tight, small words. I mean, just depth and meaning, but in very short sentences. So I'm going to be pretty quick. I had one, the most recent one was published in the Haiku Journal, number 65, and it was kind of a fun, naturey one. And then in the Tanka Journal in April, which was lovely. I'm really glad you picked that one. And it was more about like the relationship woes. And then I had one, the very first one was accepted in the 3-line poetry. in November of 2019. So I wasn't sure which one to pick. So I thought maybe I'd do a poll. What would you like to hear? Fun nature, relationship woes, or sad realities? Or I just pick the biggest.
Let's let Amanda Ardietta decide.
Okay.
Which one is your favorite? I'd say go with that one.
Out of all three of them, my favorite would be the relationship woes one, because that's something I write mostly from past experiences as well as observations of other people's lives and their stories. So I think this is something that many of us go through usually, at least once in our lifetimes, if not many. So that's my favorite. But anyway, this is a tanka, and here goes. So this is actually my first poetry reading online too. So I hope I do it justice. Anger flares again. Sorry, let me back it up. See, I told you I'm an amateur. Anger flares again. Tears are rolling down my face. Time changes nothing. Could you abandon your ways? Will I realize my part? And that's it. Thank you.
Nice. Hey, I like the pivot on the third line. It's good.
Thank
It's
you.
really good. You know, tanka, it's a very special thing, and I wish we had gotten more. I don't know if you know, Susie, but we recently closed that journal. And but you can still continue writing tanka, and you can submit them to some of our other journals that do accept them, and that's just fantastic. That pivot, you know, the change, that's everything. In the tanka, you know, it's so well done. Good job, and nice reading too. Krista Planko. Hi, Krista.
I had to unmute myself there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Glenn. Well, thank you for having me today. The piece that I'm going to read is going to be featured in the upcoming or the most recent Poetry Quarterly. It's a short piece. It's called Rain on My Cheek. I think it's universally relatable. It's a reminder that moods come and go, life events, situations come and go. Like the weather, we ride them out like a storm, but the sun will always come out again. So there's always hope and a rainbow at the end. So I'll go ahead and read. Rain on my cheek. Low-hanging cloud releases its burden from the gray expanse, darkening mood. Cold memories evoked of a dream drifting away, eclipsing the sunshine, and a cloud entered my heart. I remember that day and the rain on my cheek. But not long after, a rainbow emerged, as it soon will again. So I smile and know this storm too will pass. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You know, I've read a lot of your work over the years now, a number of your pieces, and I was sitting here reading blindly, and I told my wife, this sounds like Krista Planko. And then after the piece was accepted, it reveals who it was, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a game that we play. We try to guess sometimes, you know, who it is. But
Oh, that means a lot. I have a voice.
you do, you have a
recognizes-
voice. You have a good voice,
But
and
then
an
every
evolving
time-
voice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, over the year, I'm always, you know, I've been accepted, I've been rejected, you know, in your journals throughout the years. But every time I'm accepted, I'm always like so proud and humbled, you know, to be featured among just all the fine poets that are here today. You know, it's just wonderful, and I enjoy this so much. So thank you again.
Your word and your poetry is great when you read it. And really great on the page. When it's on the page and the reader has the experience, the way that the transitions of the line breaks and everything. I mean, your line breaks are really strong, and that means a lot, because some people just, they write something and then they just don't know why they're breaking the lines where they're breaking them. And so that's something I can definitely say about your work. Is I appreciate that. William Torfey, you're gonna be next. Just give people a chance to prepare and get ready. Doug Van Hoosier, you're next after that, and John Caprillion, I can't read my writing, will be then Virginia Watts and Meg DeSude. So that's the order that I have. William, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Excuse me. I had a very short story that has just been published in Inwood, Indiana, and I think it came from binging on The Twilight Zone. And in lieu of reading that short story, I'm going to read a poem which I recently wrote, somewhat influenced by our sheltering in place. And it's called Dostoevsky in Exile. There's a little quote here. Let me tell you, the absurd is only too necessary on earth. Ivan Karamazov. Siberia is the ideal place to let your hair down unless it's been shaved to skull as prevention against famished lice. And the landscape is certainly arresting if you're a drunken blind man obsessed with boundless tundra. The Tsar's henchmen grabbed me fiercely by the collar and dragged me to a hawk-eyed judge who chirped and crowed to find me guilty of inciting insurrection against the Holy Russian state. These idiots always have the same reaction. Scribble a few sentences, they all howl and object as if I've launched attack against God himself, when they're only the pious ramblings of an epileptic compulsive. The walls of this prison are masked in ice, and the yard in Omsk is even colder, where I shed my skin from freezing after hours of slavery in the mines, pick and shovel punishment for my literary crimes. My wardens claim my labor will be congenial when performed in uniform, soon dispatched for martial duty at Inkst, banished still from Petersburg, condemned to step and plain, nary a soul to hear my hectoring.
Nice. Also, very strong on I mean, you had those kind of enjammed and almost, well, they're full-throated slant rhymes, right, in there. I really liked
Yes.
that. Doug Van Hooser's next. Hi, Doug. Hanging out at the Golden Gate
Hi,
Bridge.
how you doing, Glenn?
Doing great.
That's the background, yeah. My internet connection here is, they're indicating to me it's wobbling, so let me know if it works or not.
Well, your
I'm
audio is
going to read
working.
a poem from the last, all right. I'm going to read a poem from the last PQ. The title of the poem is Germination. I love the idea of beginning. To break
Doug,
from the seed, down
Doug.
with roots, up with leaves, to unfurl and flag flat. Can you hear me, Glenn, or not?
I couldn't hear you. No, you can. Why don't you just give your screen a second to buffer and start over? You can start over. It's okay. Let's give it one more try.
Sometimes if you take the video out,
Okay.
it works better.
The title of the poem is,
Yeah, Edward's right. If you can shut your video off and leave your mic on if you want, and it might help you with the bandwidth.
there we go. Germination. I love the idea of beginning. To break from the seed, down with roots, up with leaves, to unfurl and flag flap in the breeze. But seed shell won't let go. It clasps the tendril of me. I climb the air and still it clings to the tip of leaves that bulge under its grip, unable to shed the remnant of conception. Birth, a burst that burgeons, swells with like a promise, pregnant with the season, green, unripened, bloom, a dream. That's it.
Thank you, Doug. little alliteration in there. That's nice. Okay, John, are you ready?
I am ready. Okay. I'm going to read a poem that appears in the latest Poetry Quarterly, my first time getting in. And so I'm very, very excited about that. And I also have a piece coming up in 50 haikus too, which is great. So thank you.
Is that the next 50 haikus will be out on the 25th? So
Great.
just a few more days.
Great. So this one seems a little seasonally inappropriate, but I'm going to read it anyway, because I like it. It's called "It Finally Smells Like Spring." Today, it finally smells like spring. We've turned the corner, left the black ice behind, await the rain and mud of April. But today, it smells of hope and dreams and future and past and skin and rocks and dirt and questions. That's it.
Thank you, John. For people that just came in recently, I am recording some of this that's going to go on our Facebook page. If you have a concern about that, please send me a private message and let me know. Virginia Watts. If I mispronounce anybody's name, just let me have it. Just clobber me. It's okay. I want to know.
Well, you got mine right. It's like John, this is my first appearance in Poetry Quarterly, so I was really happy to be there. And this is a poem that I've written recently, as you'll find out. And as a lot of my work happens to me, I end up somewhere in childhood memories. And after so many writing classes and conferences and workshops, I've kind of stopped apologizing for that. I think it's just what I do. So the title of this poem is Spring Break, COVID-19, and H.G. Wells. Teenagers are pissing people off as usual, crowding beaches in Florida and California. We planned this trip like 9 months ago. Hey, whatever happens, happens. If I get sick, I get sick. It looks like a lot of people are going to die. Then they'll get it. That's the thing about youth, quicksanded in their own bodies, their minds and their hearts, knowing better. Some mornings are better than others. Some mornings the bleach would wake me. It's weird when your own sneeze wakes you. My mother's sponge in the tub, scrubbing and shining. Every window in the house thrown wide enough to admit a flock. Even better if there was butter and sugar and cinnamon. A piece of unneeded pie crust left sprinkled near the stove. Even better if it was summer and my bike was waiting outside. Take the wax papered treat out back and eat it on the concrete step. Then pedal to the top of the hill and try to hold on with slippery fingers.
Bravo.
Nice. And I think these persona poems, I really wanted to include a poem like that in the issue. But too many of them started sliding to that political side that we don't publish politics. So it was a nice, sweet spot that you sort of hit. It wasn't too far, and it was kind of funny in the way it started. And it's a persona poem. I liked it. It was really good. Thank you, and congratulations for making it in. I hope we get to read more of your work in the future, Virginia.
Thank you so much.
Meg DeSude.
Hi,
Hi. Good to see you here today.
same here.
All right, what do you got?
Thanks, Glenn, for organizing this. And as always, I'm very thankful for you to include my work. Recently, I got published in the Inward Indiana Fallow Ground issue. I've ordered it. I haven't received it yet. So in lieu of that, I'm going to be reading a poem which I wrote as a response to a condolence call made to my friend. And it was first published in the WNYC studio gothamist.com because they have a response called Lessons Learned, and we had to write around it. And secondly, it got published in the Life in Quarantine project, which is a Stanford University project. So here it goes. It's called A Condolence Call. Grief sits like a day-old soup in my kitchen unless the anger stirs it, rattles, and boils it. Grief rises to the surface and chokes me. I hear the loss of a mother, my friend's mother, over the phone. It's a condolence call, yet I can't seem to join in his grief. Sudden loss disjoints your body. The pieces don't seem to fit anymore. Body and language are extricable. Our tongue moves in the way our body can't decipher in grief. I can't seem to form a legible sentence. Our conversation keeps coming back to the grocery, the loneliness of being stuck in a condo looking over the lush green deserted parks. I don't want to bring back the conversation of the dead and dying. The whole thread of conversation is about feeding the ones we love. Loss is pouring through the thin sluices of the city every damn day, which starts again the same day it ended yesterday. Or was it tomorrow? With sidewalks pitted with the bones of the dead. I can't seem to fathom the desperation and anger in his voice of not being able to visit his mother during her last times. The pain and the grief carry over like a failing enjambment from one meaningless conversation to another, till we ran out of the small talk. The silences between the pauses takes the shape of the unsaid condolence as I slowly hang up the phone. There is no defined language for grief. Lesson learned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Magda. Whew, that was sad. Bill Melton. Hi, Bill. Bill is definitely a big supporter of our press. He submits to a lot of things, always buys some books, and just a really nice guy. And we seem to be really in sync because you make it into a lot of things. And you seem to write what I like. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. This piece was published in 50 Haikus in 2014. I suspect that some people who read this poem probably accused me of being in the sauce when I wrote it. I'll read it now and then I'll give you a brief explanation of it. A mockingbird sings, not the songs of other birds, but a cell phone ring. I was waxing my car on the driveway and minding my own business, quiet fall morning, and I heard a cell phone ring. It wasn't my cell phone, and I glanced around. Didn't see anyone, no neighbors. Went back to work, and it rang again, the same tune. And about the third time that it rang, I looked up in a tree overhead, and it was a mockingbird. The mockingbird was mimicking the cell phone ring.
Oh.
That's it.
Thanks, Bill. I had a moment like that when I was in law school in Virginia Beach. My now wife and I were under a tree, and there was a mockingbird, and it was just going crazy. And it was singing car alarms and doorbells and cell phones, everything but other birds. And it was powerful. It was powerful. It's not supposed to be that way. All right. Let's move on. Sydney McCoy. Hi, Sydney.
Hi, Glenn. Good to see you again.
Oh, it's good to see you again.
Yes, I'm going to be reading Stolen Spring. It is being published in the current issue of Poetry Quarterly. And last year, I was healing from some surgery in the springtime, and that's my favorite time of year. And so that is the genesis of the poem. Stolen Spring. This time of year, my hands seek dirt. Weeds cannot find a home in my yard. Wind battles and blows away all things unfastened. Flowers blossom unfazed. Depleted soil recovers. I heal indoors while plants run free. Perennials multiply and divide before my eyes. I behold misplaced blooms that entice, while others devour bare ground. I must be content to marvel at the unfolding of spring without my attending hands. Nature's splendor outlasts every gardener.
Thank you. That's sweet. Patrick T. Reardon, my friend. You have to unmute yourself.
Hey
There you
there.
go. Hey,
How you
good to
doing?
see you.
Good to see you all. I'm going to read a poem I had published in Poetry Quarterly a couple of years ago. And a good percentage of what I write are kind of made up things. In other words, they're not based on seeing something or going through something. And this is one of those. This is sort of like a short story in a way. So I'm just imagining all this happening. And anyway, let me read it. It's called Dust. She would not dust the glass tabletop in the bedroom where he died. It was the flakes from his skin that had floated on the air, his dandruff, the particles of the wretched remaining lung expelled with tiny beads of blood in the final coughings. It grew thick as mold. Sunny mornings, she sat at odd edges of the bed to see the dust spotlighted in the rays for minutes enough. Gloomy days, she sat in the spot knowing there was no secret to be revealed. She fell once because she would not put a restraining hand on the glass. Her head hit the table corner and her light snuffed. Later, the crew came and the dust was watered and wiped by a frantic cleaner on his work's first day. On the second, he didn't appear. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay. Keith Gabbery, are you handy? Oh, he's not. He's not sitting by his computer. I'll come back to him. If you guys have to get up, and don't be afraid, I'll come back and you're not going to lose your spot. Leanne Camp, let's hear from you. Come on down. You're the next contestant.
So interestingly, I also picked a poem about Alzheimer's, but unlike Arvilla's, this is from the perspective of the daughter. And this is a poem I wrote about my visit with my mother, my last visit, and she had Alzheimer's very badly at that point. It's called The Last Visit She Would Never Remember. She kept her hands busy arranging things. A shrine built from stained mill mat cups, on top the broken coffee pot. Bath towel wings draped on chairs. She searched for the next prop. Her bitter childhood, like toxic water, spilled from her mouth in wretched detail. Yet she insisted I wasn't her daughter, who was younger, thinner, blonde, not brunette. I had been repurposed along with all the clutter in her tiny house, where she navigated her memories like tall newspaper stacks, The old ones too heavy to budge. The recent ones swept away on a sigh for wanting what she knew was gone. That's it.
Thank you, Leanne. You know, I know those subjects are really difficult to write about, and um, I don't know if you wrote that and then came back and edited it later, but you really got a little distance, so it was written for an audience more than it was that sort of. I see a lot of these poems, they're heartbreaking. They make you cry sometimes. You're reading the slush pile, and you just can't help it, you know, because you can feel the pain. But not all of them are written well for the readers, and I have to be an advocate for the reader, so I can't take as many of them as I would like. That was a very, you really slid right into that spot there where it should be. Very powerful. Thank you for that. Keith, can you hear me? Keith Gabbery, you back?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you read for us?
yeah, of course, yeah. So I thought I would read what's in the latest issue of PQ. So this is Cemetery Sky. When I run through the open gate into Mountain View Cemetery, gravestones surround my sweat on a curved road. In Mountain View Cemetery, I gape upon a downtown skyline on a curved road, beside flowers shivering in the wind. I gape upon downtown Oakland, vaulting into a commercial sky, spliced from this sky's flower, petals crumbling like concrete. I want to shake out this sky's sorrow, for names we honor stand higher than any bone crumbling in a tomb of soil. Breathe before names we honor. Gravestones surround my sight. Over tombs of soil, when I run through an open world. And that was my interpretation of a pantoum as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carol Mertz.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How have you been during this pandemic? Are you okay?
Oh, we've been well. Thank you.
Good.
This poem that you selected for Poetry Quarterly is called The Young Man. And it's contrary to what Patrick said, this actually sort of did happen. The poem happened. The single young man who lives across from us leaves for work in overalls as I prepare to work my words in service to this verse. He carries a thermos and lunch. I have coffee, a snack, and a hunch he'll be tired when he returns. I'll have churned, turned, and returned my words, may likely have a poem charily spun from the loneliness this virus has strung across the ceiling of my mind, longing for adventure of a different kind, one less life-threatening, one that allows for nearness and touch and even a smooch. When my new adventure will unravel, will I travel? Will I remember the less fortunate? And will I dance? Will I admire, as I do now, the young man with his thermos and oh, so hopeful stance? Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm talking to you and you can't hear me. I said that was nice. I like it. I like listening to you read. Patricia Rossi, where are you? I don't think she's not here, is she?
Let's see her.
I had her on the list for a while. I have seen a lot of work by Patty Russi. She's phenomenal. We're missing out. Valerie Staton. Are you still here? Kind of getting down to the list here. There's I see you, your icon, but I don't hear anything from Valerie. Are you on the phone? You can call into these things too. Valerie? Come back. Keith Gabbery?
Okay, thank you so much. We'll give you a great review. Bye, Sandy.
Yeah, Glenn.
Hey, Keith.
Hey.
Oh, Keith, I'm sorry. You already read. We'll come back around to you here in a minute. We'll be going around to John McMullen. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance.
Okay.
Hi, John.
Hello, Glenn. How goes it?
It goes well. Looks tropical where you are. All the plants outside.
Yeah, I'm the poet laureate of the time of Yorktown, New York. It's the 36,000 citizen thing. I receive absolutely no pay, and I have to run workshops and host things all over. I first appeared in Inwood, Indiana, a number of years ago. I came across it because I grew up in the Inwood section of Manhattan Island in New York, and I've been writing off and on for ever since. But I usually write political things that I know better than to send to Glenn. But I started in March doing some poems about living in the coronavirus world. I expected to have 3 or 4 and put them together and submit them someplace. Then I got up to 10 and I started to work to a chat book. Now I'm up to 45 and I don't know how long it's going to go. Maybe at the end of the year, I'll have to have volume 1. This is one that's a 2-page poem. It's a little longer than I normally write, called Car Maintenance. And it was written in 2 parts. I sit outside my Volkswagen dealer. I've gotten dashboard warning lights, one indicating that I need a parking light, the other something about tire pressure. I come in masked and gloved, filled out a form, and turned over my key. Now I sit outdoors, socially distant, but very weird. I'm in a 3-wall building with 3 other folks, all in rapture with electronic devices. Very weird. I've sit writing this ditty on my Mobiscribe, stylus in hand, pecking away, in what has become my new normal. Part 2. After an hour and a half, a mechanic or car thief drives my car away, and I return to scribbling. I've just read a wonderful article in the July 20th, 2020 New York Crossroads by the very gifted Lawrence Wright. In it, he describes how the tragedy of the most famous pandemic, the Black Death, brought on the beginnings of the famous Italian Renaissance. A bit slowly, this tragedy became intellectual revival and brought on new ways of thinking in medicine, religious belief, astronomy, business, and much more. It also produced brilliance and courage with such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Boccaccio, Petrarch, the Machiavelli, Dante, Columbus, Verrazano, Vespucci, Galileo. Wright opines that the Italian Renaissance was perhaps the greatest achievement of science and art in Western civilization. Will our new normal, if it ever comes, bring on such brilliance and innovation? How the fuck would I know? I'm a poet, not a prophet, and my car is ready. Thank you.
Nice work. You know, it's a good example of how we, as poets, we draw resonance from certain words that the readers come to our poems with. So when you say the word mother, we all have a sense of what that means to us. And in this case, all of the different names that you dropped, sort of as a collection, they all have their own bit of meaning to each person and the resonance as a collection. I thought that was very powerful and nicely done. Valerie, if Stanton, if you can hear this, I cannot see you, but you can chime in anytime that you can, and I will do that. So we've made our first round. I'm going to come back around if anybody wants to ask a question or read again. That would be really wonderful. And if you don't have all day to be here, I understand and respect that as well. So Mark, I think we started everything with Marcus Benjamin Ray Bradley. Is he still here? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. You're down there. Do you have another one?
Sure. I was struggling on which one to pick, but I think I'll read one that you never got a chance to look at, Glenn. This was written in 2013. I was in a poetry class at the University of Kentucky, and this was the first one I wrote for class that I thought really worked and kind of made me feel like I could do this. So I read kind of a sentimental one last time. This one's kind of silly. It's called Human Cannonball. It's not difficult to be shot from a cannon. The real trick is hitting the mark. I never wanted to be the ball. I just became the right dimension. The cannon has the power I don't. It's her aim that I have to depend on. So I bring gifts, speak her praises, and ask her for continued safety. The crowd stills in anticipation, cheer at what could be my last wave, and silently hope that she misses, and it will fill up their empty lives. On nights before a show, I sleep inside of her and dream of being born through her canal to the sound of a drum roll and a bang.
Nice, nice. Good. All right. Well, we lost some people. I expected that. For everybody that's sticking around, I hope you all have something to read. Oh yeah.
You doing seconds or?
Yeah, we're gonna go around one more time. If you have the patience to say, and if you don't, I understand. I'm so grateful that everybody. Just so glad you guys are all here. I'm gonna read real quick, just so I don't forget to do the second one. But I'm gonna do one of my shortest poems, so that we can move along. It's called Nobody's Horse. Near the low end of the meadow, there's a yellow horse. It lives there between the meadow and the pond. It lives on someone's land because everything's claimed, but I know not whose. It is perhaps the most beautiful horse I will ever see, and yet it is blind. It knows nothing of beauty. It is nobody's horse. And even if it did belong to anyone, this horse, with its opaque eyes, might never know it. Even the priceless thoroughbreds may be unaware.
Wow. We like it.
All right. Thank you very much. Lynette, do you have another one?
The first one I read was from the last issue of PQ. This is from a book called The Beat Poet. It's the
Is it a beat poem?
Yeah, it's a National Beat Poetry. It's Foundation Inc. is what it's in. I don't know why I wrote it, to be honest with you, but it's kind of fun. The title is The Beat Poet. In the smoke, click, click, to represent, of course, everybody, you know, doing what they do from the 60s. In the smoke, click, click, who has the dope? Click, click. Smell the incense, incense. I am the shadow, okay, okay, click, click. I am the rhythm, dressed in black, click, click. I hear you snapping your fingers, click, click. I am the open road, riding myself to heaven on a giant hog, click, click. Hear the I am long-haired chant, click, click. The smoke rises, click, click. I rise, okay, click, okay. I am a flower reaching for the sun, like a psychedelic weed set free in a smoke-filled room inhaling me.
Nice. All right. Good job, Lynette. Arvilla, let's hear from you again.
Okay, I'm going to read one that's going to be coming out in Inwood, Indiana.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I was kind of fascinated by Inwood, Indiana because I'm from Indiana, born and raised there. And that magazine actually allowed me to kind of venture off. I'm a pretty realist kind of poem. I write real stuff, historical stuff. But this one is just sheer imagination, and it's called The Legend of Sabine. They say on nights so very still, Sabine will come, oh yes she will, holding babe to bony chest, she never rests, she never rests. Train your ears and you can hear, I didn't kill, I didn't kill. There are those who felt the chill, just before the ravens trill, to warn bystanders all around, don't make a sound, not a sound. Strain your ears and you can hear, I didn't kill, I didn't kill. That night her baby's blood did spill, 'twas the night Sabine grew ill. As she clawed with all her might, screams rent the night, rent the night. Cover your ears or you will hear, I didn't kill, I didn't kill. They found her sitting on a hill at dawn near the old grist mill. Sabine rocked a baby, stone cold dead, with eyes of lead, with eyes of lead. Strain your ears and you can hear, I didn't kill, I didn't kill. The judge signed death with a quill. Sabine sat in chains against her will. Hung by the neck, she gave a gasp, her voice a rasp, her voice a rasp. Strain your ears and you can hear, I didn't kill, I didn't kill. Sabine is searching, searching still. Knife inside her coat of twill. She vowed vengeance at her trial on a savage man so vile, so vile. Strain your ears and you can hear, I will kill, I will kill.
That was great. That was such a good fit for Inwood, Indiana, because it's all things peculiar. We publish, all these kind of things. And I remember the first time I read that through, it was, I don't know, I just kept thinking of this legend, I think it's from Mexico called La Llorona. This woman who is the crying woman. She's terrifying, and she takes your children if they stay out late at night, right? Something like that. So it's sort of a way to keep your kids indoors, scare them.
There's a show on cable about that.
Oh yeah. All right. Well. All right, Julie Dixon. Yay! I'm glad you stayed for another round.
I think I'm gonna hop on the Alzheimer bandwagon. My father had Alzheimer's, and this is a little earlier in his progression. It's called Back When I Was Old, and this appeared in my local newspaper and a group that I am a member in back in 2014. Sometimes I recall when I was old, when my legs betrayed my will to run. I cautiously ambled from room to room, making slow progress past claw-footed chairs and a couch with gaudy flowers and big pillows. Now my chair is wheeled down long tiled hallways, passing people I don't know, or have I forgotten them? They say I am dying, and I don't speak to anyone. I sit still for hours. When I close my eyes, I see my mother, and it seems lovely to gaze upon her face again. Back when I was old, my TV at home stayed on. The recliner curved around my form like a friend. They called me Grampy, and when my family visited, we spoke of books, raking leaves, and the bright yellow convertible Volkswagen Beetle I could no longer drive. Now I play games like a child. We toss balls and sing. My days are filled with oatmeal, singing, and cream spinach. I stare at my food tray, wondering if I ever played ball or liked cream spinach back when I was old.
Nice. Thank you for that. It's such a, I think, prevalent thing, that theme. We get a lot of those poems, and I'm sorry that that's touched your family, but poetry is a nice way of expressing that and helping other people to come to terms with things. Len Carver. Len, you're going to have to unmute your mic, my friend.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay, all right. I still get that confused. And I'm sorry I reread this poem that I read the last time at the first meeting, but you know, part of my memory, and this theme of old, it's one of my two major themes, old age, this brave new world of old age, and the other one is eternity. But let's, the poem, this was published in PQ in fall of 2019. I have, I've come to believe in reincarnation for many reasons, the personal experiences I had and other people and I've talked to and readings I've done. And also there's just a logic to it. But I also realized getting old enough, I'm 73 now, I've already lived 4, 5, 6 lives. I mean, you know, I'm not the same as I was as a kid or my 20s, etc. This poem is about that. It's called The Old Man in the Mirror. You think it a lie, seeing that old man in the mirror, some imposter taking your name, living in your house, calling out to your wife as though he had married her 40 years ago and not you. What can the old fellow want of you, you wonder, and would ask, but you fear his laughter. So you never speak with him, and he runs a place just as he sees fit, sleeping late, eating early, taking a nap, and going for brief walks when you'd prefer a jog. He also doesn't care much for taking those long drives you love so much, too far away from comfy home. 1,000 carefree miles is but a dream to you, while he shudders like it's climbing Mount Everest. Worst of all, he is less patient with the myriad fools of the world. So he'll rant and rave when clerks misbehave. And his politics, right and right he feels, caring naught for the downtrodden masses. Yet he is kinder than you ever were, more thoughtful of others, more giving, less taking. He loves his friends and doesn't screw women only to leave them empty. Best of all, the old man loves God. He won't see belief as folly, for he has learned the real illusion is mortality. So knows death is a door and not a wall. You could learn from the old man you share life with, but you won't. You are young. What are God and death and endless soul to you?
Very good.
Nice. Joel, you look like you had a reaction to that. Would you like to share what you thought about that poem? You have to unmute your mic.
Yeah, I think it captured a very, very central element of the aging process just beautifully, which is the mirror, you know, and how we look at and reflect on ourselves, and what someone once called the mask of aging. You know, you look in the mirror, you see what you look like today, and you say to yourself, as this poem I thought just beautifully did, that's not me. You know, there's a different me. There's a whole set of different me's inside. And you know, I thought the poem just expressed that really. And
Thanks, Joel. It's worse than that. I'm a 24-year-old inside a 73-year-old body because I feel I don't think I'm 24. I am 24 years old. Now that may be because that was the year I almost died. I almost drowned. Okay, and frankly, it was a suicide attempt. Okay, and I thank God and a lot of people who saved my life and helped me. But yeah, I still am 24 now. I don't know if that's a reason why, but. When I was young, I was told I was a young soul. I didn't know what that meant, but I am. So every day I look at this is so strange, so unreal, the whole thing of this. Anyway.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you with us, Len. You know, we lost so many good poets to suicide.
Pray for their souls.
It just keeps happening, and it's not poetical, and it's not beautiful, and it's not profound, and it's nothing
I
to
think
be
if I may
praised.
just share something, people who are introverted, which poets, I think all of us probably are introverts at heart, or more susceptible to that. Extroverts acted out their anger out towards others, we tend to turn it on ourselves. And that's something I learned.
Yeah.
And I had a suicidal niece that I've been trying to help too. So, yeah.
Well, let's go on to Joel. Go ahead, Joel. You got another one?
Unmute. Okay. Yeah, I'll read a short poem that appeared earlier this year in a collection of poems occasioned by Valentine's Day. And it is a poem, not a love poem, it is a poem about love and the disillusions that sometimes happen with it. It's called An Old Song. Like an old song, 21st turn of the century, the first one speaks of a love that will last not a day short of forever. They dream that they have invented love itself, whereas it has reinvented love and them. Albeit briefly and not even for a year's breath, much less a century's silent sigh. The other one crawls down a tunnel too narrow to turn around in, and because life is always movement, they can only enter deeper or darkly into the choices mistaken for fate. What both really love is the inevitability of it, an illusion too green and fragrant to forgo, a heart floating in perfume which, one faded, cloud-shrouded day, will suddenly seize up and stop at the electric audacity of winter's first frost. That's it.
Nice, Joel. That line, a heart adrift in perfume.
A heart floating in perfume.
Floating in perfume, yeah. That sounds a lot like Franz Wright. Have you read some of his work?
Yes.
Yeah, a little. Does he an influence of yours at all?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
What's
Sort
the
of
last
felt
name? What's it?
Right.
How do you spell his last name?
Franz, F-R-A-N-Z, Wright, W-R, with it, Wright.
W-I-C-T?
W-R-I-G-H-T, or I think that's right.
If
I
it's
have to look
German,
it up.
W-R-I-C-H-T?
Yeah, Franz, he writes in, he does have some pieces in German, but he writes a lot of this work. Matter of fact, if you're going to buy one of his books, he's got one called The Early Poems, which I think is probably my favorite of his. Terry Simon. You know, Len, I would be happy to share if you want me to send you one of his books, or I can send you a link to a couple that
Yeah,
I would
okay,
recommend.
sure, whatever.
I've got a pretty good collection of his works. So
Sure. I prefer books over reading computers, to be honest with you.
yeah,
like
well,
to do
we'll talk later. Maybe I can send you some
Sure.
advice on that. Hi, Terry.
Hi. This one hasn't been published anywhere, but I tend to read it at the end when I'm doing a multi-poem reading if I'm a featured reader someplace, because it's just kind of fun. This is Words of Wisdom. 1. Just because you're being logical, it doesn't mean you're right. 2. Just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. 3. If you're going to crash, go faster. 4. If you sleep with your eyes open, someone will think you're dead. 5. If you like precipices, you should learn how to fly. 6. Always tip your waitstaff. 7. Never take advice from strangers. That's it.
Nice. Okay.
The line about if you're going to crash, go faster comes from a friend of mine who's a motorcycle rider who says you get better control. So anyway.
Okay, just so you guys know what's coming, Susie, you're going to be next. Then John and Meg DeSude, Bill Melton, Carol Mertz, John McMullen, Keith Gabbery, Doug Van Hooser, Keith Parsons, and then I think we'll probably wrap it up. So, Susie.
In keeping with the theme of my favorite, this is probably one of my most favorite because I put a lot of effort and work into it. Was so hoping to get accepted somewhere, and it was rejected. But so I published it on my blog, and then miraculously 2 weeks later, it was picked up by somebody else. Unfortunately not Prolific Press, but it was accepted and then published on an online magazine. So here goes. And it's a little different than I normally write, so that's why it's one of my favorites, because I think I put a lot of effort into it and did a good job with it. But the poem is called Language of Woods, and it was published, as I said, on my blog back in 2019 in November. One concrete block aligned to the next and the next, each step taking, slapping hard with echoes, the grunts of strangers bouncing against me in an unnatural way. Gray energy sticking on my clothes, smudging in deeper, my emptiness reflected on the faces of passers-by. An escape seems justified, the planning begins. It's a want and a need, a timely effort when the world begins to close in. Taking care of this essence keeps my head in the game, in the race of the plastic, the commercial, and the material world. It's beyond time to reclaim some sanity, punching out now. Every remembered hue in the musty yellow, brown, and green of the woods beckons me with its message of calm, reminding me of blanketing comfort in every step taken deep into the center of her being. I can already hear Mother Nature celebrating my return. My arrival at the entrance to my freedom has the wind layering around me with the softest of invisible hands. I lean in with a heavy sigh, forcing out the dust and the mange of the city streets, breathing slowly, feeling the pulse return to normal as peace filters in between all the cells in my body. I focus my eyes on the crispness of leaves underfoot as I step deeper into the heart of Mother. The beams of sunlight entering through the swaying canopies of the treetops redirect my attention. Eminent trails of rays capturing every bit of forest dust in its streams, emulating the rings of Saturn on a smaller scale. My preening, tender ears usher in the rich sounds of nature, whistles of the wind, harmonies of feathered friends, and the high-pitched sounds of clicks, buzzing, and rasping, all steadily burrowing the rhythm of nature into the gray matter of my brain. Its steady pulse of harmony makes me richer for having heard her sounds. Stealthily, my feet burrow into the soft mud, a reminder of a youthful past and carefree days, with an intense urge to push in deeper. Home was offering its hello, brown wetness, oozing firm yet squishy brown missiles of clay up in between my white toes. Small twigs prick the little piggies sinking in, becoming one. I solemnly brush my hand on the moistness of the green moss covering the holy tree. My fingers etch along the cracks with thankfulness for its gift of renewal, even as the crackle of old limbs signals a forthcoming demise. I wonder if Mother Nature mourns the losses as she makes me come alive. This oft-visited place of tranquility, a site of refuge and healing, is where joy comes back. I dare not disturb, offers peace. I've imbibed necessarily and deliriously in the majestic feel of these woods, experienced my internal essence revived with the esoteric fuel of nature. She spoke and I listened. That's it.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a real flow there, especially about 3/4 of the way in. That sort of assonance is just beautiful, and that piece is nice. John, hey, wake up. Hi, John.
Always have to remember to unmute. That always gets me.
Yes.
Okay. I've got a poem here. It's one of my favorites. This one appears back in 2012, I spent a year writing a poem a day, and then I had all these poems, so I decided I'd publish them. I self-published a book on Amazon, so this is in that collection, and it was also featured this year during National Poetry Month on our library's website. They selected a few from the poetry group, poetry workshop that I'm a member of, and actually John McMullen is also a member of. But it's called The Visitor. You stand there on the platform, gaudy green dress, buffeted by the breeze. You feel out of place. Everyone is gawking at you, talking behind your back. It took a lot of perseverance to get here. You shouldn't let some mild jabs get in your way, but you look unsure, uncomfortable. As the train pulls into the station, it kicks up a wind, and you lose your footing and get tossed into the air. Onlookers gasp as you shrug, flap your wings, and fly up into the dawn sky. That's it.
Nice, John. Megda. How do you pronounce your first name? Oh, you have to unmute so that you can share with me.
It's called Megha.
Mega. Okay, so I had it right. I'm forever fearful of getting someone's name wrong because it's such a personal thing, and you guys are so nice to come here. Okay, let's hear.
So the poem which I'm reading right now has been published in the Fallow Ground issue of the Inwood, Indiana, and it's called Town Bell, because most of the pieces were like about horror and the gory part of it, so that's why it resonates closely to the theme. It's called The Town Bell. When the pain resonates in the deep clanks of the big pendulum, standing alone in the heart of that small town, it vibrates and syncs up with all the wailing, throbbing beats. A whimper and a whisper, lost tears and the countless sobs of the million dying souls making a deep, wet impression on their pillow. It oscillates and scatters the loneliness, anxiety deep-seated in the heart of the dwellers, scattering in equal proportions on both sides of the town. With every lost moment of time, those lost souls secretly praying under the bated breath with offering to the exalted gods. As it moans deeply and echoes back, that lone needle is a stark reflection of the prison of life, dangling between the closed ends and the monotony of the faceless charade, the endless grind, and the hamster of a life. The bell tolls at the top of the hour. As pain reaches the resonance, its screams are quietly hidden in the dissonance of the town bell. Can you hear it tolling now? Thank you.
I can hear it. I can. I enjoyed that piece. I've gone back and reread that even since it's been on the website. I went back and read it again. I like that a lot. Very well done.
Thank you so much.
Bill.
Yes. The last few months, or at least during this COVID crisis, I've been working on trying to master reverse poetry. That's been one of the hardest things that I've tried to do. I was introduced to it by one of my physicians, about whose son was writing reverse poetry. He's about 10 years old. But as difficult as reverse poetry is for me to try to master, the thing that's more difficult is to write humor. I would love to write something funny, but I guess I'm I'm not a funny person. But from 2014, the same issue as the last one, Ladybug. Ladybug alights on my nose, and now I see spots before my eyes.
I knew that was coming. I remember that. Nice. Nice. Good job. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Hey. You're so smiley. You just make me so happy. You're just sitting over there smiling.
I really meant to thank you so much for doing what you're doing here and for letting me join the group.
No, it's our pleasure that you're here.
I like to write ekphrastic poetry. I've done it over the last 2 or 3 years. And if I read this poem called Congo in Britain, I don't know if I should tell you the joke or just read it.
Do you have the photo? Did you do it from a picture?
I did.
Yeah.
but I can't share the photo right now.
Oh,
Too
okay.
bad. But maybe I'll just read it. I would draw your memory to the name of Desmond Morris, who is a former curator of mammals at London's Zoological Society. So hint, hint. Here's the poem. It's very short. Certain entities, in spite of chaos, strive for unity, maintain their balance. This is Congo's untitled, blacks and whites interspersed beneath. The inevitable blues singing their hearts out, struggling to hold, much like our country, threads unraveling from the spool. Has Desmond played us for a fool? And that's it. And of course, Congo is a chimpanzee, and Morris actually collected his paintings. So
Oh, yeah.
the joke is on us.
Right. Very well done. Thank you. John, you have another one? I bet you have many, many.
I have a short one and a very short one. And John Capriellan, who's a good friend, even though I mispronounced his name, will recognize my style. By the way, John's book is 365 poems in 365 days. It was a wonderful accomplishment to get him back on a poem. Okay, a poem is not a jump shot. I've done at least one thing perfectly in my life. I've faked my man, gone up in the air, and got nothing but net. Perfect. Now I write poetry, no matter how happy I am with a poem, it is never perfect. It can always be tweaked, have words added or cut or changed, never really finished, never perfect. But sometimes I have to pause, to stop, and just get poems out the door. And that is this submission.
Nice.
And then a very short one with a religious connotation. The Lord saith, the Lord God in all his majesty saith to Adam, don't get the fuck out of my garden.
You know, on the point of that first one, you can hardly go to any poetry workshop without somebody saying poems are never finished, they're abandoned, right? And I don't know who said that first, but it is something that we all kind of feel like we could maybe make that a little better, you know, until it's published, and then you kind of feel bad about changing it, right? I mean, am I the only one? I don't want to change stuff too much after it's been published, because then you have more than one version out there, and it might confuse the reader if you ever get a fan. Keith.
Yeah, me or
Keith Gabry. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read a kind of a newish one, I guess, relatively new. This is called We Smile Back. The lamps in our lives gaslight our eyes until we walk out the screen door to welcome autumn moonlight into the sweep of our sight, gazing upon the same lunar guide as our ancestors of old, who draped themselves in animal skin, not to flaunt wealth, but to survive a Quebec winter, with the promise of an April petal, blooming like the baby bruise I wailed over when I slipped out of your hands. I stand beside you now, under a waxing smile, where we smile back into a singing cicada night. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. That's nice. I'm gonna just try to speed up a little bit. Doug, have you got another one, Doug? Doug Van Hooser. There you go.
Yeah, there I am. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to read a poem called Blue. The neighbor's dog Blue keeps barking, so I decide to keep trying. Be relentless as the dog's loneliness, to try again like the fungus that each year reappears on the oak stump. It finds reason in dead wood. The ceaseless despair of the dog shuts off like a faucet and becomes an unbridled torrent of leaping, wagging joy at the sound of a mumbling muffler tied under a faded blue Toyota, dinged with dozens of small wounds. I would like to be so pleased. Be greeted by my ambition, consummate my desire, eliminate the whine of repeated attempts, and shake the hand of success, even if it looks beyond me and continues down the road, line of all its guests.
Nice. Nice. Keith Parsons. Have you got another one? And then Susie Box, I think we're there. And I don't know if, John, did you read 2 times? Yeah, I think you did.
Sure, I'll do one more. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. This one is fresh. Mandela. I had a friend who was sure that Nelson Mandela died in the 80s in jail, and another who was sure his childhood book was The Bernstein Bears, and was stunned to find instead Stain stamped on the end of that storied surname. Each disturbed by the manifest failure of memory demonstrated in their mind, finding a supposed solid fact, in fact facetious, floored them, unmoored them, and more's the pity. For all our memories are false, each a castle in the sand, each a castle on a cloud, each a cloud before the whirlwind. Each one is Oz in toto. We fly on a tornado of the temporal lobe, and I can only hope that when I land in the bed at the end of the story, I can say of my dreameries, and you were there.
Nice finish. That was a really strong finish. Hey, Doug, I forgot to tell you. You know, Billy Collins wrote a poem called "Another Reason Why I Don't Keep a Gun in the House." You should, I think you should look that up. You'll like it. Another reason why I don't keep a gun in the house is about his dog in an orchestra pit, and he just keeps barking, 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 and it's fantastic. And if you haven't read it yet, you should go read it. I really believe that your sense of humor, you'll get that one. Susie.
I'm glad you mentioned Billy Collins. Actually, I've got about all of his books. I still have a few more on my Amazon wish list. I really adore reading his work.
Did you get his Art of Drowning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm reading that right now. It's really, really good.
Hold on. I was going to read from the last one that was just published in the Haiku Journal.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to tell everybody, since you're here, every single day right now, Billy Collins reads from his Facebook page. He's reading every single day. So if you go to his Facebook page and you get the little live chime, I watch it every day. It's been really great. Okay, go ahead, Susie. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you said that because he's really he's a joy to watch and listen to and read, obviously. But I actually purchased that thing to attend his masterclass. Oh God, I love it. It was just wonderful. Anyway, the Haiku Journal number 65, celebrating the art of haiku. You guys just picked this, or I should say, you selected this.
Thank you.
And this is the fun nature one that I really enjoy writing, but. Bumbling on flowers, extracting precious nectar, bees feeding freely.
Nice. Yeah, you know, the short poems, there's
Yeah.
something about that, right? Every word was chosen carefully. The compression was right there. You do have a knack. I mean, just a couple of words and you've taken us somewhere. It's so nice.
That is like my absolute, I think that's one of the things I've honed in on my journey with writing. I absolutely love the as Mega even said it earlier, it's somewhere in a message to me about beautiful brevity. I just love something that has such depth, but such ease of, just a short amount of words. If you can do that, I think you're a master. I love that stuff.
John McMullen, did you read twice? You have to unmute yourself.
I did, but I'll be
Okay,
happy
yeah.
to always read again.
I think, yeah, I appreciate that. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys all for coming. Did anybody have any questions I didn't answer?
Yeah.
Yep, I think you muted yourself.
Again.
I
Unmute.
just wanted to add just a word of thanks for this opportunity, Glenn. It was really wonderful. And
Thank you, Joel.
keep up
Thank
with your
you.
work.
Len, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself so I can hear you. Thank you, Joel. That was really nice. I appreciate the opportunity. I have so much talent, you know, that I get. It's just really my pleasure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oops, you're muted again. Hold on. Okay.
Not working?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. You can hear me? Okay. Just two quick things. Someone said about, I think, Carol, or someone about writing comedy. Out of hundreds of poems I've written in the last 5 years, I've written one that's funny. It's hard. Some actor said, tragedy is easy, comedy is hard. Yeah, it's much easier to make people cry or fearful than to laugh, as the politicians do. The other thing is that people said about changing their poems or not being satisfied with poems. I don't feel that, and that's because, to be honest with you, I don't write my poems. They write themselves. They come to me. It's a strange thing. I wrote in my 20s when I was young, not because I got married, but maybe just busy. And then 5 or 6 years ago, they started coming to me again. And I don't understand it, to be honest with you. And it's also frustrating because I want to write something and they don't come. And if I don't write them down, they come.
Sure. Well, you know, I'll tell you,
Oh,
I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
But it's kind of like just wrote. Well, what I'm saying is creativity to me is a very strange phenomenon. Someone says the unconscious. I thought it came from the unconscious mind. Now I think maybe it comes from somewhere deeper than the unconscious, or the soul, or something. I don't understand it. And when I'm doing it, I don't understand how I wrote this. I look at this stuff. How did I write that poem? I don't know I wrote that, to be honest with you. I'm like someone else wrote it. I can't believe I wrote it.
Well, we've all had that experience. It feels
Amazing.
good, doesn't it? Yeah, it's nice. John, did you want to mention something?
It feels great.
Yeah, I wanted to say one other thing in reaction to what you said before about poets being introverts. I think Billy Collins is a prime example of an extrovert. I think many of the people that I know from my workshops, they're extroverts, and I know I certainly am. So.
Yeah, especially the spoken word poets, the ones that like to do the mic thing and they really get out there. Some of them
Can
are.
I say something on that too?
Yeah.
Let me just say something. People who know me, and I was a teacher and then I was in sales, will think I'm an extrovert because I have faked it very well for 50 some years. But at heart, I'm an introvert. So they may seem as extroverts, but if I had to guess, I have to say that at their core, in the beginning, they're introverts because it takes that introversion of the mind to I think to really create things. Now maybe I'm wrong in this, but that's also makes us vulnerable to things like depression and other problems.
I think you're right about it. I don't think that it applies to everyone, but there's a pocket of poets that fall into that, and I think you're in the zone. I don't think it's true of all of us. All right, well, thank you all for coming and for making this a very successful event, and we will try and schedule another one sometime soon. Okay? Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.